అవసరం లేదు మీకు. ఓకే అండి. ఓకే. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, students. Is it audible?
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, very good afternoon. Okay. Can I start the class now?
Break అవుతుంది సార్
వాయిస్ బ్రేక్ అవుతుందా? ఇప్పుడు ఎలా ఉంది?
ఓకే సార్.
Is it fine?
Okay sir.
Right. Okay, in our last class we completed certain cultural developments up to the medieval India. Up to the medieval India means up to the entry of the a new religion at that time, Islam, in Indian territories. After entry of the Islam in Indian territories, there are certain changes taken place, particularly the influence of Iranian and Central Asian culture on the existing Indian society. Within the existing Indian society, changes has taken place in the field of religion. Changes has taken place in the society. Changes has taken place in the economy. The changes has taken place in other political traits. Basically, the Indian society is in rigid form, which is we clearly observed from the Guptan or Gupta period onwards. After starting of a feudalistic society, the caste scattering of caste and subdivision of caste has taken place from the class. from Chaturvarna system, there are certain scattering has taken place. It's nothing but the evolution of communities has started. Okay, you are well aware that 1712 AD, it's not a basic year, but around the 1712 AD, there is a certain foreign people or a foreigners who touch the Indian territories on the western part basically. They gradually residing in those regions and gradually they are entered in Indian territories, and you are well aware that in 1206 AD there is the establishment of a mighty Delhi Sultanate kingdom has started. The whole Indian subcontinent politics has changed then onwards up to the entry of the Europeans in India. So after entry of these European nations, we may discuss those things in another class. Okay, today we complete the changes particularly among or during the Delhi Sultanate period and also the Mughal period. Okay, changes among all the components of the Indian culture basically. Okay, so basically Indian culture start with the society. Within the society, religion is a important aspect. Okay, so without religion, you can't imagine the Indian society. Okay, so religion is the main and the most important aspect which comes under or which adjoining to or with part and parcel of Indian society. Okay, you cannot discuss anything a society without a religion, particularly in India. Okay, so we'll start things regarding with the society. Basically, the Indian society having certain things which has taken place. When you see the Indian society, basically at the time of Delhi Sultanate, we'll see a certain things within the Indian society at that time. Okay, so the whole society which is in a Chaturvarna system. Okay, the society which is going or carrying with the Chaturvarna system, and also some other divided or subdivided castes also attached to Chaturvarna system, and where the untouchable castes are the Atisudras or outcasts or Chandalas. These are certain similar words which are also within part and parcel of Indian society at that time. Okay, so basically the whole Indian society is a composite, having a composite culture. Composite culture in the sense is a mixing culture. Okay, mixing culture of various religions. Okay, here there is a entry of Islam, a new religion at that time, and already existing religion is Hindu. Along with Hindu religion, we also find the Buddhism, Jainism, and Zoroastrianism, and also some other denotified religions at that time. Okay, it means it's a totally a composite culture we find. So within this, Hinduism and the Islam are the two important religions we can see at that time, or the people are following at that time. Okay, and a new class also emerged at that time is nothing but a class of nobles. Okay, so basically the Islam is entered in India with the people from the Central Asia, basically Persia and Iran, Iraq regions. So their practice of a nobility who find at that time, and the same nobility are the class of nobles who entered in India, and in India the class of nobility is emerged as a new class at that time. Okay, so Brahmins continued as the same position at the high position, and Brahmin also who were engaged in the field of agriculture at that time. Some of the Brahmins uh, who uh, who followed the agriculture as their occupation along with the priesthood. Okay, so priesthood is the main occupation of the Brahmins, and due to certain changes, they also comes under certain economical aspects. Particularly, a few of Brahmins were are followed these agriculture practices at the time. Okay, the not we cannot say the majority of the Brahmins, but some part or some percentage of the Brahmins who followed the agriculture. Okay, so as usual, Shudras are the lower strata, and also some sub communities, subclasses who are outside this Chaturvarna system. Okay, so when you see the Muslim society at that time, the Muslim society also divided into certain ethnic and racial groups like Turks, Iranians, Afghans, and Indian Muslims. Okay, so Indian Muslims are the only converts converted into the Muslims. Okay, so Indian Muslims are having the various classes. Okay, so Indian society having various classes. Okay, so from these classes, those who converted into the Islam, those called as the Indian Muslims. Okay, so the whole Muslim community who follows the Islam having certain groups or sects on the basis of their origin. Okay, like the Turks, Iranian, Afghans, and Indian Muslims. And the Hindus are upper class and Muslims not have much intercourse between them. Okay, the lower section of the Indian society and the newly converted into Islam or the already followers of Islam had a certain conservation. But we don't find a certain contact between the rich class of Hindus and the Muslims. Okay, we cannot see such a contact between or intercourse between the rich class of Hindus and the Muslims at that time. And sometimes Hindus enrolled as the soldiers in Muslim armies. Okay, whole Indian subcontinent under not whole subcontinent, the majority of Indian subcontinent under the Islamic rule. Okay, so the rulers are the followers of Islam. That's all. Okay, so as a followers of Islam, they also appointed certain Hindus into certain high positions in their court. Okay, as a soldiers or as a nobles, also certain Hindu people also appointed by these Islam Muslim rulers at that time. And when you see the nobility has certain privileges in the society, which is a highest class, treating as a highest class at that time by the Islamic rulers. Okay, so when you see the society regarding the status of women, no change in the status of women, because the whichever the status followed the women is continued within the period also. Okay, so the early marriages, male domination is continued, and widow remarriage is totally forbidden or prohibited, and the sati system, which is already we find in the Rajput times, also continued, and uh, and according to Ibn Battuta, he was clearly mentioned about the system of Johar, which is followed by the mainly Rajput women, and widows was not merely merely guardian of property. It means no property right to women, particularly the widow, and practice of parda is prevailed, but it's seen only the upper classes. Okay, so parda system also prevailed at that time, but only confined to the upper strata of the society. And Muslim women also followed the parda. Okay, so sometimes women had some important place that for some women certain wars also taken place, certain battles also taken place. So this is a unique condition we see at the medieval times. Okay, so when you see about certain things regarding art and architecture, there is certain a composite or a mixed form of art and architecture you find. It basically Indo-Sarsanic art, because Sarsanic is a art form which is from these Iran and Iraq territories, and which entered in India and mixed up with a Indian art and architecture at the time. Okay, so this madrasas, mosques, sarais, and dargahs are the important structures you find particularly during these medieval times, and a tradition of architecture called as a Sarsanic, and which mixed structure we call as a Indo-Sarsanic structure. Within the Indo-Sarsanic structure, we particularly find certain styles like arch, vault, dome, and application of a lime cement we find particularly within this Indo-Sarsanic art and architecture. Okay, so in the technical terms, Indians followed trebete means having columns and pillars like beam and bracket, and the Muslim rulers followed certain arcuate form we find. Okay, so there is the pillars and columns we find particularly in this Sarsanic art and architecture, which is like the beams. Okay, so and when you see particularly certain structures at this time, um, you are well aware that there are certain important towns and cities which were constructed at this time, particularly a city of Agra built by Sikandar Lodi, and also Fatehbad, and also Tughlakabad, and also other cities and towns we particularly found in these medieval times, particularly during the Delhi Sultanate times onwards. Okay, so during this Alauddin Khilji, we find a important structure called as Alai Darwaja, which is completed in 1311. And during Qutbuddin Aibak and in the period of Iltutmish, you are well aware that a construction of Qutub Minar, a well stored structure you all already find. And also Iltutmish built a Quwatul Islam mosque also. And Aibak also built a Qutub Minar. Along with Qutub Minar, he also built a important mosque called as Quwatul Islam at Delhi, and Adai Din Ka Jopra at Ajmer. It's a important structure during Qutbuddin Aibak. And during Alauddin Khilji, along with Alai Darwaja, he also built a township called as Siri. Okay, Siri fort constructed during the Alauddin period onwards. And Janpana, a fourth city of Delhi, also built by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. And also Fatehbad, Hisar, and Firozabad, which is built during the period of Firoz Tughlaq. And also Janpur is a important city built by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. And Khizr Khan during the Khizr Khan is an important ruler among the Sayyid, okay, dynasty. So the Khizrbad also a important city at that time, and also Mubarakbad also a important city built during the Mubarak Shah period. Okay, so these are important structures we find among the art and architecture during the Delhi Sultanate. And when you see the literature, okay, so during the Delhi Sultanate period, the language literature also well developed, and among the language and literature, along with the uh, along with along with uh, along with the Sanskrit and Arabic, there are other vernacular language also developed at that time. And basically, the regional languages like Maithili and Bhojpuri, and also southern Indian languages like Tamil, Kannada, Malayalam, like languages also developed at that time. And also literature also developed among these regional languages at that time. Okay, so when you see the important works during the Delhi Sultanate, you are well aware that Al-Biruni was a important ruler, important writer at that time, who wrote Tariqul Hind in Arabic, and later the same text translated into the Persian. Okay, so it's a primary information of socio-religious conditions at the time of Delhi Sultanate and before the Delhi Sultanate period. Okay, so he also write a text called as Qanun-e Masudi, which is on astronomy, and Jawafir, which is a text on numerology. These both texts also written by Al-Biruni. Okay, so Hasan Nizami also another important writer who wrote Tajul Masir. Okay, so Tajul Masir, which is a important text which gives a history of Ilbarit tribe. Okay, so and which also deals a primary information about particularly a Qutbuddin Aibak, right? So after him, there are other important writers we find, particularly Minhas Siras. Okay, Minhas Siras, who were a important poet and a writer during the Iltutmish period. He also appointed as a qazi, and sometimes he enjoyed the status of Sadarus Sudur for 4 periods during the Iltutmish. He wrote a text called Tabakat i Nasiri. Okay, so during the rule of Nasruddin Muhammad. Okay, so, and another important writer called as the Amir Khusru. He was not a professional historian, but wrote half a dozen of works during during the Delhi Sultanate period. Okay, among those called as Muftaful Futa and Kaijanul Futa, Nosifur, Tughlaqnama, and Kamsha are the important works of this of Amir Khusru. He was worked as a important he was enjoyed a important positions under the Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq also, and he was adorned the court of Delhi Sultanate from Balban to Firaja Tughlaq. He was he wrote a certain 92 works in the Delhi Urdu language. Okay, so Delhi Urdu is a composite language. Among them, he was a pioneer in it, and he was a important writer who adorned the court of Delhi Sultans. Also, he sometimes enjoyed a high position in certain Delhi Sultan's court. Okay, next one, Ziauddin Barani. He also write a important text called as Tariq-i-Firoz Shahi, and uh, and he was a important writer who was kept in the prison by Firoz Shah Tughlaq because of supporting Khwaja Jahan as a ruler after the death of Muhammad. Okay, so he was prisoned by Firoz Shah Tughlaq for some time. Okay, next one, many other authors also there, but another important one is Ibn Battuta. He was a Arab traveler from the Morocco, and he wrote Kitabul Rehla, which was a important work of Ibn Battuta. He also acted as a Qazi of Delhi during the Muhammad bin Tughlaq times. Okay, so these are certain things. Apart from this, many texts we find not only in the Arabic or Persian, we also find many Sanskrit works at that time. Okay, so when you see certain things within within the Mughal period, okay, so within the Mughal period, the Mughal rulers were very much supported certain cultural traits at that time. Okay, so basically, um, uh, Babar was himself a writer, a poet who wrote his own biography also, and after him, Jahangir, not only Jahangir, Humayun also a important personality who supported various fields of culture. He was supported writers and painters and musicians also. And after him, Akbar himself, who supported and encouraged, patronized many musicians and painters also. And Jahangir himself a painter, and he also encouraged many painters and musicians at that time. And Jahangir, after Jahangir, Shah Jahan was a great contributor among the Indian art and architecture. Okay, during his time, many buildings, monuments are constructed in India. Okay, so when you see the important things at the time of Mughals, where we find a certain important developments. Basically, there is a Indo-Mughal culture has started, where the Mughal rulers discarded the Afghan titles of Sultan and styled themselves as the Basha. Okay, so Emperor Basha, and also the Dinpanha. Dinpanha is a protector of faith. Okay, so within the place of the Persian titles, they use certain indigenous titles during this Mughal period. Okay, to create certain sacred reverence among the people for the kingship, they started practice of making appearances through especially built Jarokas or windows. Okay, you are well aware that Akbar, who followed a Jaroka darshan, every day morning, he visible to the all visitors who come to his court, visitors, particularly a common people may interact with the Mughal emperor, which is a important practice which is followed from the Akbar onwards. Okay, and they encouraged the court practice of Sizda, and concentrated religious and political power more firmly in their hands. Okay, so Sizda, Paibos Sizda are the two important traditions which is starting from the Delhi Sultan onwards, where the Balban was the Delhi Sultan who started this Paibos and Sizda. Both are the important a tradition who respect to a sultan at that time. Okay, so those are two important Persian traditions, which is started in India from the time of Balban onwards. Still, it is continued within the Mughal emperor also. Okay. So when you see other important things within the Mughal period, within the Mughal period, there is another important development during this period was emergence of several modern Indian languages. Okay, Urdu perhaps originated around Delhi, and Urdu developed in the army, particularly in the army of Delhi Sultans, particularly from the Alauddin Khilji. Still, it continued in Mughal times onwards. Okay, so after we have only the 10 minutes. Okay, after 10 minutes, automatically the video may discontinue. Okay, up to whatever we covered, I will give you, okay, the things. Okay, so this Urdu is a language which is developed around Delhi and later which is entered in India, entered in southern India. And basically the Urdu was well developed in and around the Bijapur particularly. Okay, so then entered in Golconda and we later we call it as a Dakkan Urdu. Okay, so after that among the Dakkan Urdu, the important poet was the Amir Khusro, okay, who composed poetry in this language, also played some part in making popular. Besides poetry, beautiful prose, short stories, novels, and dramas he write in Urdu language basically. Okay, along with Urdu, nearly other modern Indian languages like Bengali, Assami, Oriya, Kariboli, Punjabi, Gujarati, Marathi, and other important South Indian languages also which are developed at this time. Okay, so apart from these, there are certain other important and Persian and Arabic became a court language at that time, and official letters and orders were only the for orders and official letters they used only a Persian as a official language. Okay, the court language is nothing but the Arabic and Persian at that time. So along with this, other Indian languages also they followed because the majority of the Indians were following those languages. Okay, so particularly within the religion, there are certain important changes has taken place. Okay, so during the medieval period, Hindu religion underwent a great transformation, and along with the Hindu religion, the Islamic religion also underwent certain changes at that time. Okay, so within the Hindu religion, the focus of religion's attention shifted from the great gods and ceremonies connected with the polytheism to polytheism, nothing but to one god to his avatars. Okay, one to many avatars of a god. Okay, many gods and goddesses. Okay, so those avatars may be in a form of Rama, Krishna, like that, right? So a new approach to God, which is emotional, passionate bhakti, replaced a sacrificial rites. Okay, so in the form of this emotional and passionate bhakti, which is sacrificial rites, which is replaced it, and bhakti propagated the idea of God and one and only one, a devotion to whom was more important than the religious doctrine. Okay, and it has rejected the ritual aspect of Brahmanical religion. It began to contain a note of social protest. Okay, so Brahmanical hierarchy or Brahmanical ideology or the priesthood of Brahmins were questioned, and within the Hinduism, the people want to see a revival of religion. Okay, so forms of religious expression change. Love songs to the Lord were sung and group singing created a new popular cultural form, the Kirtana. Okay, so following the Kirtanas and bhajans have started. Okay, so all these are things only the influence of certain philosophical ideologies propagated by the various personalities at that time, basically from the Shankaracharya, Ramananda, and Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, and many other important bhakti saints you find at that time. Okay, so along with the bhakti saints, you also find the Sufi saints also. The same things happen in Islam or the religion of Islam. Okay, so they also question the unwanted rituals and traditions within this Islam, and there is a new form of style or new form has started to get moksha within this Islam also, like a gur peer relation has started. Okay, gur or a student and a guru relationship has started. According to the guidelines of the guru, the disciple or a peer may act or worship the god and goddess. Okay, so pushing aside old gods, old attitudes, old cultural forms, a new movement also drove the sacred language like Sanskrit back into the memories of Pandits and other deepest practices of temples and monasteries. Okay, within the Hinduism, following the Pandits has started. Okay, and the first century of their growth, a modern Indian vernacular literature were molded by his religious movement. Okay, within the religious worship, there is a use of the regional language started. Particularly when you see the Bhakti movement, many Bhakti philosophers or Bhakti saints, they propagated their teachings within the new regional language. Okay, Chaitanya is propagated his teachings in Assami are like that, and many Gujarati, many Bhakti saints propagated their teachings in Gujarati, and in Sanskrit, Tulsidas, Ramcharitmanas written in Hindi, and likewise many Bhakti saints who propagated their teachings within particularly regional language has started apart from the Sanskrit. Okay, and within the Bhaktism, Bhakti movement, we'll discuss tomorrow clearly about the Bhakti movement and Sufi movement clearly tomorrow, and we have a separate concept within other modules in our syllabus also. Okay, so I will give a brief introduction on this. Okay, so Bhakti having the two divisions, one is Saguna Bhakti and Nirguna. Saguna is a worshipping of a particular god and goddesses, a depiction of a particular god and goddesses. Whereas in Nirguna Bhakti, we don't find any particular depiction. Okay, so among the Saguna Bhakti, there is a worship of Rama and Krishna, and Rama Bhakti and Krishna Bhakti as important one. When you see in the Nirguna Bhakti, we don't find any particular certain worship. Okay, so among this Nirguna Bhakti, you are well aware that Nanak and Kabir were important saints who propagated their teachings. Okay, so when you see in the Sufism, within the Sufism also you find the Sufi saints. Okay, so Sufism basically, which is entered in India from the Central Asia and then Persian and Iraq territories, and here also which is challenging the challenging certain unwanted rituals, particularly in the Islam, and they want to get moksha. They worshipping Allah following the various means. Okay, so within this, they within the Sufism, we find various silsilas also, like the Hinduism, where certain bhakti saints you find. Within the Islam, you find various Sufi